Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's up, my friend? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. My name is Nico Rapclis. I am the host around here if you're new around these parts. But I'm really excited about this particular episode. This is with my good and new friend, Alessia Citro, who is the author of Higher Self Habits. And this is an incredible book showing you exactly, step by step, how to become your highest self. We dove deep into that concept, how to really systematically create the life that you truly desire through manifestation and habits. So it's an incredible episode that you're not going to want to miss. Now, before we do jump into that episode, I want to let you know about two specific things. We have our live podcast events we do here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Our next one is going to be on the 21st of September. The next one will be on the 19th of October. You can learn all about that information at justgrowpodcast.com. And then if you want to be a part of our school community, where it's called Magnetic Manifesting, where we go live every single week. We have over 600 members in the group now. And it's just a great place to connect with other visionaries and people that really want to take things to the next level and entrepreneurs that are just on their path. So go ahead and click the links down below. All that information will be in the show notes and the description. But without further ado, let's get in this interview with Alessia Citro.
Alessia.
Nico.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very aligned podcast swap.
Yes, very.
The new book.
Yeah, you're like, let's talk about higher self. Yeah, let's.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. It's been a while since I've done like a in-person podcast that wasn't an event. So these are fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to be like in the energy of the other person.
It is. I mean, I feel like Zoom it only goes so far. I'm so grateful we have it, but this is really fun.
Yeah. So how did you get into the world of higher self? And even entrepreneurship too, because I always feel like that's one and the same.
Isn't that true? I think I got into the world of the higher self because I spent so much time exploring what my lower self was like.
Get the duality going?
Yeah. And actually, I think that's a really powerful thing. How can you appreciate the beauty at the peak if you haven't been into the valley?
Yeah.
Right? Like everything is relative. So if you haven't experienced yourself at your worst, how can you know yourself at your best, right?
Yeah.
So part of my story is I went from, being like a quota crusher and top performer in tech sales. I worked at Salesforce, landed my dream job at Google. I started there actually 1 week before COVID hit.
Okay.
So I was like their last in-person onboarding class, and then was trying to ramp up at home with a 15-month-old at the time that had no more daycare because they shut down. Yeah. So that identity goes away. So that's one thing that I have had to explore. Who am I when these external things get taken away? Because they don't really define us. We just like to think that they do. Yep. And then I went from being an online wine dealer to now being sober for almost 2 years. So wow. I'm just constantly like exploring the extremes of things and finding what suits me and where I might need to be somewhere in the middle. But yeah, along the way, I've figured out at least more of my higher self. I'm certainly not her yet, but right. I am pursuing her every day.
Yeah. There's a quote, are you familiar with Russ?
Yeah.
So he's got this song called Tunnel Vision, and he says, I'm determined to see what it will look like to meet the best version of me. I might be paraphrasing just a tad, but like, yep. Like that sounds like what you're saying. Is like it's that pursuit of meeting your highest self.
Yes.
At some point.
The best example I've heard of that is Ed Milet. He says that when he dies and goes to heaven, he imagines he'll meet the man that he was created to be in his full potential, and his goal is to meet his twin and not a stranger.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
so funny that you bring that up. I've been mentioning that. I forgot that he was the one that said that. 100%. And like the way I've kind of described it too is like one of my biggest fears is meeting my highest self and not recognizing it.
Yeah.
Rather, it's I want to meet him, and I feel like I'm looking in the mirror
Yes. Yes.
because I am.
Right. Yeah, I imagine my higher self. I actually take people through a whole visualization to really begin to understand and know who that version of them is. And yeah, my higher self just kind of looks like a more calm, rested version of me that's in really great health and isn't bogged down with a lot of menial shit that doesn't really matter. Am I allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you are.
Should have asked that earlier. Yeah, my higher self also has a potty mouth maybe sometimes. Trying to get better about that.
Why?
I feel like if you say like fuck to enunciate everything, it doesn't mean anything. Like if you're using it to give extra effect, you have to be more selective, and I feel like I'm saying it so much that the effect might be lost. So I'm working on cleaning it up a little bit, but not too much. That's like part of who I am is a little foul language, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coming back to like you met your lower self, as you mentioned.
Oh yeah, me and the lower self were well acquainted. Yeah.
You guys have been through it. So like, talk to me and maybe kind of walk us through your book a little bit too. But like, what does that look like to start becoming and start moving towards that higher version of yourself? You started mentioning getting clear.
The answer that just dropped in for me is one day you just decide to make a different choice, and you realize it doesn't need to be this like quantum leap. It might look like, how can I make a healthier choice? Instead of drinking beer, could I drink a sparkling water instead? Or instead of eating Cheetos, could I eat, I don't know, a healthier snack instead, nuts or something like that? And it starts out with these little choices that you know are better for you, that signal to yourself that you love yourself and that you want to do what's best for you. And then by doing so, you end up doing better for all the people around you too. And then it starts to compound. So I really think it gets as simple as, what is one better choice that I could make today? And then you just keep doing that. And before you know it, the growth is significant. Like I'm literally a completely different person at a cellular level than I was 2 years ago even.
Yeah, it's those micro decisions.
Yes.
It's interesting. I feel like we're on some similar wavelengths, but it's like when you can start adhering to the micros, it leads to the macros.
Yes.
So in a sense, like the micros are the macros.
Oh yeah.
Because I've thought about this, because I think over the last, especially year, even more so, is like with social media, is how I get sucked in so quickly. And I'm sure you can understand that as a content creator.
Yeah.
You know, the more you start creating, the more you start getting validated.
Yes.
The more you start getting more of the cheap dopamine hits. Oh, likes, oh, you're doing amazing. And you're like, oh, let me see if there's more on there, you know? And then it just like, keeps sucking you in. So I was having a conversation with a client about this, and I had this perspective shift. And I was like, I feel like I don't love that I'm saying this, but I'm getting to a point where I'm addicted.
Oh yeah. I think we all are at some level, if we're being honest.
And then I had this shift, and I said, okay, I'm addicted to short-term gratification. That's what it is, right?
And the instant gratification, right?
What if I shifted that to be addicted to long-term gratification?
I was literally having this thought driving over here.
What?
Yeah, like how maybe I need to get into hobbies that have like a longer gratification period, like gardening, right? Instead of like, I was telling you before we hit record, I'm like learning Spanish online right now.
Yeah.
I get immediate dopamine hits when I get the right answers, when I rack up the points, when I'm, progressing in the leagues. It's on Duolingo, right? They make it very competitive. They've nailed the gamification. Okay. And it was occurring to me, I'm like, this is really a lot of dopamine. Like, I need to have other hobbies that aren't so like quick fix. Like you plant something, you grow it, like that is a longer time to harvest, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I was literally having that thought on the way over.
Because, you know, it's something that comes to me is you're talking about these hobbies, and something I've been doing over the last couple of years that now I'm like correlating, and it's making a lot of sense that it adhered to the long-term gratification was country swing dancing. And I say long-term gratification because when I started, I sucked.
That's why I won't go, because I'm too embarrassed of how awful I'll be.
But that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Is like, if you went and you did something that you were already good at, it gives you that short-term gratification to say like, look, you got the desired result instantly.
I had never thought about it that way.
There's something really to be said about doing things that you're bad at.
Yeah, as more delayed gratification. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I'm always trying to figure out like, how can I do more things that I suck at? But I have a very low threshold for that. That's probably a little higher than I'm letting on. But yeah, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
We're so used to getting rewarded instantaneously, especially now living in the days of Amazon Prime, right? Like I self-published. I can go, if you were to order this, right? You'd go on Amazon right now, order this. I don't keep inventory except the copies I have for gifts, which I gave to you. And you would get a copy of this printed by Amazon within 2 days, maybe faster. Like, that's crazy. Everything is so much quicker than it used to be. And I feel like our brains aren't wired to deal with this. So how can we shift to, looking for more long-term gains?
And it's also interesting. Man, we could talk for a while, I feel like, in a lot of different directions. Because I'm very much into marketing as are you. And like even the rage and the buzz right now is how do you make your business more like Amazon Prime? Because that's what people want. They want that instant gratification, low, what do they call that? Low effort and sacrifice, high perceived value. Like that's instant, they want instant, you make your offer more instant gratification.
Which is a lot of pressure, especially if what you're trying to do is delivering on like a long-term transformation. Mm-hmm. Like the cheap, fast results, like those don't work, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm thinking about like, some of the diet commercials that you'll see. Like lose 20 pounds in however long, and then you stop doing that and you gain it all back. You have to make a lifestyle change, and that takes a lot more effort and a lot more time, right? Mm-hmm. So are we really, I feel like we've been trained the wrong way now. Like we're trained to buy and get what we want immediately. Like what about long-term achievement?
Well, I think that reels us back right into the conversation. And I think that's what's really valuable and powerful about like the work that you're doing and how we're very aligned in that sense of like having that vision of where you're going and meeting your highest self at the end of your life and looking in the mirror. That's not like Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. So the more that we can focus on, we can have that longer term vision. We make those small little increments and getting a little bit better every single day, but we have that long-term vision of who we're becoming. Yeah,
and the intention is so critical. That's what I opened the book with, right? If you don't have an intention and you don't know where you're going, you're gonna go around in circles or zigzagging. Like you have to, like coming here today, I plugged in the address and it told me where to go, right? Mm-hmm. That's like, intention is like the address and the GPS. Yeah. You might end up taking detours, you might take a scenic route, you might take a little detour, but like you know where you're going. Exactly. And most of the time we are operating without that, and we're just like in a walking coma of sorts. Mm-hmm.
I've used that metaphor a lot.
Yeah.
It's brilliant because that's like how would anybody get around these days if we didn't have GPS?
Yeah, it would be
a mess.
It would be. Yeah, and I talk about in the book too, the concept of an upward spiral. We all know downward spiral, but like what if you were to look at it the other way instead? And you keep making revolutions through your evolutions, becoming a better and better and better version of you at every rotation, right? Mm-hmm. So the process I outline, there's 5 stages. So the first is awareness. You can't solve a problem until you're aware it exists. Yeah. Then you align to the person that you want to be. Like, who is your higher self, really? Then you audit, like, what is it in my life that needs to stay? What needs to go? Yeah. And what do I need to bring in new? Then from there you activate, and I teach behavior design, which once you know how to do that, everything falls into place. People always think that they're flawed and defective, like, oh, I can't stick with a habit, something's wrong with me. No, your behavior design is just off. And then the final stage is ascension, right? And that's when you complete that first rotation of your upward spiral. Now you have new awareness, you align to new levels that you didn't previously see were possible, and on it goes, right? But we have to maintain consciousness through that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I feel like we just go unconscious. A lot of things in the world that can kind of lull us to sleep if we're not careful.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was hanging out with some friends yesterday, and one of my friends, she just had a baby. She's about like 2 years old, and I think she's kind of hitting this point where she's like, okay, I've been mom for so long, now I'm wanting to like transition back into like myself. And so we were talking, and she's like, you know, I'm kind of like an all in or all out kind of person. She's
Oh
like,
my gosh,
I've
yes.
meditated 800 days in a row before. And I was like, wow, that's something. And then I asked her a question. I thought this was a really good question for her, but for me and anybody listening and yourself, is like, how do you take that all in approach into your day to day?
You actually need to check it at the door. Going all or nothing is the thing that's holding us back. What do you think about that?
How so?
Okay, let me give you an example. I was working with a trainer a few years ago, and I was following it to the letter, the macros, all of that. And I had one meal where I hadn't planned ahead, ate a bunch of crap I shouldn't have, and I'm like, well, it's over. And I fell off the wagon completely. Like, stop working with the guy. Yeah. I've talked to so many women, and maybe men do this too, but I think it's a lot of women because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect, right? Or as close as we can get.
Yeah.
And this all or nothing thing, if you stick to that, you end up falling off the wagon or falling off whatever you're doing. And instead of, you know, allowing good to be the thing that keeps growing, you trade it for perfect, which is unattainable, and then you do nothing. There's a quote, don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, like we said, the micro decisions. If you're all in, that's a lot of pressure. So I think if we can get rid of like all or nothing, go big or go home, and just look at like incremental change and how that can compound and grow, that's where the transformation is.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on all in.
A lot.
Right. I guess like more so what I was referring to in terms of like what you're saying, like being conscious instead of going unconscious. Because like it was almost like from my perspective, like created this identity where like, if I'm not meditating 800 days in a row, then I'm not able to be conscious.
Right.
I want to be. And so what I was saying is like, how do you take that just approach of like being conscious and in the moment and in the day to day, and you do that throughout the day without feeling like you need to like have this extreme 800-day meditation?
Oh yeah, okay. I'm completely on board with that. What I really think is the trick is focusing on being. Like, who am I being? My whole thing is like, be her now.
Yeah.
Like the version of me that I want to be. How would she react? How would she shift her state of mind? What would she do? Like when we were, I might be a little older than you, so maybe you don't remember this. The WWJD bracelets that everyone used to wear when we were like adolescents, like what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And what would your higher self do? Like if you can shift to that mentality. So if you focus on being and work doing whatever it is in alignment with that, everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah.
So to your point, if you don't meditate 800 days in a row, can you still be present? Absolutely. And I think you're creating a really high bar if you think you have to maintain that.
Yeah.
Like people always want to talk about morning routines. I love a morning routine. And what if instead of this like big elaborate routine that feels really constricting and rigid perhaps and hard to maintain on vacation, what if you created like a menu of things that you could do in the morning? Maybe it's meditating, maybe it's stretching, maybe it's drinking a cup of coffee when it's quiet in your house and you're alone. That's my favorite coffee as a mom.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, journaling, whatever it is. You don't have to do all of it. And you don't have to do it for an hour. Maybe it's like 2 minutes. Maybe it's one deep breath. But I think like finding, more of the micro moments, not thinking everything has to be so big or it doesn't count. I don't know if that's a thing like amongst Americans, like bigger is always better. I think like something is better, right?
Yeah.
Like
Goes
something
back to those
versus
micros.
Yes.
The reason I was kind of like smirking is because like it's funny that you say that, because obviously I know that that was your perfect day when you entered that into your Vision Espresso.
Yeah.
Like some days I do this, some days I do this. Sometimes it's journaling, sometimes it's a little breath work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we created it too, because it's like it can be a very powerful piece of your morning routine. That's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just gets you aligned to your highest self.
Yeah.
And like you said, is be that higher self now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we want to get to the end of our life and meet our highest self and be looking in the mirror. But what if that highest version of yourself is you right now?
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. Like just make peace with where you're at all times.
I do think also when you are hyper present, grounded in the moment, acting in accordance with the person you want to be, I do think in those moments you are your higher self.
Exactly.
Like 1000%. And that's also how I think you quantum leap, by the way. Because like really, what is time? Time, space, constructs of the 3D reality that we're in. Otherwise it doesn't work. But I won't go too deep on that.
Maybe we'll jump into that. But like while we're on that thread, I think this might be a good time for us to play your audio.
Let's do it. I can't
ready?
wait to hear it. Yeah.
It's
Even
a good
just the preparation of this and like really thinking about it was really powerful. So I'm excited to hear.
It's been fun making these, and it's interesting because people that have a good amount of specificity in it are a lot of fun to make, because it just seems like it comes out great, and then you used a really good mic too, so you made our job really easy. So thank you for
Fellow
that.
podcaster.
So just to give you a little preface, there's a little intention setting and gratitude, and then a little bit of breaths right before it starts.
Okay.
So when it asks you what you're grateful for and what's your intention for the day, just speak those out loud.
Okay. Like right now, live.
Yep.
I'm grateful.
Hold on.
Oh,
Let
okay.
it play, and it'll prompt you. And
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Now, before I hand you off to your highest self, I have 3 things for you. 1, what is your intention for today? Say it out loud.
My intention for today is to be in accordance with the woman that I know I am meant to be, to not make excuses and show up as her.
Good. Number 2, what is one thing you're grateful for right now? Say it out loud.
Right now, I'm very grateful to be sitting next to you, a like-minded individual, like a mile away from my house, expanding my tribe. Arizona's still new-ish to me, so yeah, very grateful to have met you.
Awesome. Now 3, I want you to take 10 highly connected, highly conscious breaths.
Hey Alessia, it's me, it's you, the future you. I'm so excited for you to get here, to see who you've become and all you've created. Yeah, the awe-inspiring homes around the globe, the best-selling books stamped with the New York Times seal, the transformative talks that made you a sought-after speaker, the flourishing business clearing over $1 million annually, the cherished moments with family in your renovated Iowa farmhouse, the soul-enriching travels from European vineyards to Asian temples, and all the lives you've had a massive impact on, especially your own. Alessia, you're incredible. There's absolutely no one out there like you. And as you continue to listen to that vision audio from Nico is when things really started to shift. Your journey was unfolding more beautifully than you could have ever imagined. Every morning, you awaken in one of your exquisite homes across the globe. Whether it's the panoramic views of Paris, where you sip coffee as the city stirs, or serene mornings in Maui, watching the sun illuminate Molokini Crater, each day begins with awe and gratitude. You start your days with intention. Some mornings, you're journaling while overlooking the South African bush, or practicing breath work in the peaceful expanse of your Iowa farmhouse. These practices aren't merely routines. They are your daily renewal, grounding and uplifting you in profound ways. Your work has become a source of deep fulfillment. Whether channeling your creativity into exciting projects or guiding clients to their breakthroughs, you find joy in every task. Especially those days in your Scottsdale office, where the desert landscape fuels your innovative spirit. The workouts you committed to have transformed you. The gym sessions in Sedona, each muscle carved out, is a testament to your dedication and vitality. Evenings are about connection and reflection. Whether you're enjoying a home-cooked meal with Jeff and Mila in your Italian villa or dining at your favorite restaurant in California, each meal is a celebration of life's flavors and the joy of being together. And at the end of each day, when you check your accounts, those 4 or 5 figure deposits are a sweet affirmation of your prosperity and success. Over time, you achieved your fitness goals. You sculpted that strong body with energy that now seems boundless. Your business thrived, erasing all debts and amassing substantial savings, which gave you the freedom to innovate and expand further. As the years unfolded, Inhabit LLC grew beyond just a business. It became a beacon of influence and innovation, grossing over $1 million annually. Your talks became sought after globally, and your books, they didn't just get published, they became staples on the New York Times bestseller list. Your home in Sedona became a hub of creativity, and the Iowa farmhouse, a retreat where family bonds deepened. Your life became rich with travel, journeys that took you from the vineyards of Europe to the temples of Asia and the vibrant cultures of South America. Each trip was not just a getaway, but a deep dive into the worlds that enriched your spirit and expanded your understanding. The people you met, from Lori Harder to Gabby Bernstein and Jamie Kern Lima, weren't just inspirations. They became your mentors, friends, and part of your trusted inner circle. The conversations and connections made were as enriching as they were enlightening. Alessia, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you've always been. And I love who you're constantly becoming. Now get up and make it a great day.
Oh, wow. That was really powerful. And that's one of my walk-up songs, by the way.
That's a good one.
So yeah, love that option. Wow, that was really powerful. How did you make it sound so real? It's insane.
We've been working on this for a while.
It's so cool. Yeah, like, whew, all the feels.
Yeah, which is such an important part, right? I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about your highest self. Is like, how do you step into that feeling?
And that's the magic, right? Mm-hmm. It's the emotion of it. Like anchoring into what will it feel like when I'm that version. Mm-hmm. I don't know how God or the universe or whoever it is that's in charge created this magic formula, but that's it. It's the emotion and like continuing to let that guide you.
Mm-hmm. So how do
and
you
then
feel
taking action, right?
Aligned action, inspired action, which comes from the feeling.
Yeah.
Because once you step into that emotion and you feel that, then it's actually like you're operating from that.
Yeah. And we get addicted to emotions too. Good or bad.
Yeah.
Not to label them. So
Strong
how can you get
emotions.
Yep. How can you get addicted to the good feelings and know that it's good to feel good? Like hearing all that, I felt peace, I felt joy, I felt pride. Yeah. Like we all have it in us. It's just a matter of believing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really half of it, right? Is the faith.
It's everything.
Yeah.
How do you build the faith? No, I don't like that. I don't like the how questions necessarily. I have two perspectives on how questions. It depends on how you're asking how.
Yeah.
Whether it's with a question mark or a period. Like how, right? Like an exclamation point versus like curiosity. But something I really like asking, instead of like how do you build belief? The question I've been asking more is like, what does it look like and what does it feel like to have that belief?
The message that's like dropping in for me right now is, okay, anxiety is fear of the unknown, right? I would argue that faith is the opposite of that. It's like not the fear of it, but like the joy of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And like trusting that everything is going to work out for you how it's meant to, better than you might even think.
Yeah. 100%.
And just trusting that like that's going to take place. That's how I've manifested like my husband, the house I live in, and the last house I lived in. I would even argue my daughter, jobs. Like I just have maybe delusional level faith that everything is always working out for me. Anytime something shitty happens, everything is always working out for me.
Yeah, it is.
Everything.
You zoom out far enough, like think about like a stock trend, like it's going up and then,
Yeah.
because like if you're on the 1 minute chart and it's just going like this, right?
Yeah.
But if you zoom out to the 5, 15, the hour, the day, it's going up. And
Yeah.
if you're seeing a downward trend, it's just, it's a dip.
Yeah.
What happens to dips? They pop back.
Yeah. And sometimes what's like a dip might be what's needed to redirect you. Like, have you heard, it's called burnt toast theory. Have you ever heard of this? So I heard of this because there was some Alaska flight where like the side of the plane blew off and 2 seats got sucked out with it. But no one died. The 2 people who were supposed to be in those seats, for whatever reason, missed their flight.
Okay.
And so enter burnt toast theory. It goes something like, if you were to burn your toast, you'd have to make a new piece of toast, and that approximate 5-minute delay might be the thing that saves you from getting in a car wreck or whatever. Like, there's even stories of people who were not in the World Trade Center on 9/11 because like one guy had a blister on his foot from wearing new shoes. He had to stop and get a Band-Aid. Someone had to get donuts. Someone got into traffic. It's like, can you just trust that inconveniences and stuff that seems like, oh, this day is just awful, nothing's going my way. What if everything's actually going perfectly?
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's delusional, but I truly believe that. Truly believe that.
It's only delusional until it's real. But it is real once it's thought.
Yeah, that's true.
It's created. It's in the
Thought
in
is creative,
ether.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's not in physical form, but the moment you have the thought, it's created.
Yeah. And I also think too that we're typically being, I don't know if tested is exactly the way I want to say it, but when I have inconveniences or setbacks, I look at it, I try to look at it, sometimes not right in the moment, but usually I can get there pretty quick. I try to reframe it to, what if this is an opportunity for me to be who I say I am?
Yeah.
Like the guy that cuts you off, do you flip him off or do you say, maybe he's about to shit his pants? That's what I do. And then it makes me laugh too, right? Like, can you just bring levity to it and not react with, oh, try it. Next time you get cut off, you're gonna say, I bet they're about to shit their pants, and you'll laugh and you will not be mad. So yeah, just bringing levity and not being so reactive. Just assuming it's all working out for you.
I'm stuck on the shit in the pants.
Oh, it's hilarious. This happened to me coming out of a Starbucks. This lady was like going psycho, like made this illegal turn, almost hit a biker. And I was like, that lady's definitely about to shit her pants.
Pretty clear. Pretty cut and dry right now.
I mean, try it. Try it and thank me later.
I want to get to you sharing a little bit more about your manifestations, but I did have one thing I wanted to chime in on that specifically of like
On the pants shitting.
There's some correlation in multiple ways. Because I'm big on this. So we come back to the whole concept of you're attracting what you're feeling. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you get in that feeling before it's actually in physical form? And
Yeah.
so what I've been so big on lately is like, how do I laugh more? How do I have more fun? How do I enjoy myself more?
Yeah.
And so I keep a log too. Like I have my monthly milestone and my belly laugh list.
Oh, I love that.
Because where your attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
We all
Yes.
know that, and there's
1000%.
they've done some really cool experiments that have proven that on a scientific
Oh, yeah.
level.
Yep.
But that's just the reality. It's like where your attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
So the more I put attention on this list, and I go back to it, I'm reminding myself I'm putting attention on things that are funny, things that wins, like even
Yeah.
just little conversations I'm having, or just fun days, or like hearing a funny thing about shit in your pants. Like,
Yep.
it just cracks you up. And on that note too is one of the things that will always like pop me out of like a funk is there's this one YouTube channel, this guy, he just goes around, he has like this fart noise maker, and he just like makes it very uncomfortable around people.
I would love that too. I'm like a teenage boy, I swear to God.
It's so good. Like I'm just like losing my mind just laughing at these videos, but then it just pops me out of whatever funk I
Yeah.
was in.
Well, and I love the fact that you're going back and actually reviewing a list, because the mechanism you're activating, whether you know it or not, is your brain's reticular activating system.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah.
I think that this part of our brain's like so fascinating. And then your RAS just goes out looking for more things to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, laughter's important. Okay, I'm gonna find like everything that's funny.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Which maybe I manifested that right there. Boom.
maybe, yep. So now every time you get cut off or someone's driving like an asshole, you'll be like, they're about to shit their pants. Hall pass.
Done.
Works like a charm.
So let's hear more about these manifestations. You're talking about your husband, you're talking about your houses,
Yeah.
you're talking about your daughter.
Yep. Okay, let's start with the husband. He came first too, but this is like
That's
one of my.
typically how it goes, like husband before daughter.
But not always. I mean, whatever order works for you, right? But that is what worked for me.
Okay.
Okay. Lower self, told you we were very well acquainted. My lower self was looking to fill some emotional voids by going out with guys that weren't all that great for me. And there was this one guy that my mom finally, I'm not gonna say what she said in case he ever sees this, God forbid, but she was like, your aunt and cousin and I all think that something's off with this guy. And when she told me that, I was like, oh, I'm out. I'm not playing this game anymore. If that's like the perception, like I'm not available for that. So I said, you know what? I think I need to just take a break from dating and just fall in love with myself, like date myself. And so I said this prayer, and it was the most sincere, heartfelt prayer, maybe not the most, up there, that I've ever said. And it was, God, when you know I'm ready, not when I think I am, but when you know I am, I pray that you will bring the right man into my life, and that I will not be so stupid to miss it or to screw it up. Amen.
Amen.
2 weeks later, it was the 4th of July, and I was at a party at a guy friend's house. And at one point, it's me and all dudes. And Tinder had just come out. This is like 11 years ago.
Okay.
And they knew that I was like on a dating hiatus, and they're like, look, we get it. We know you're not dating, but like, could you just download Tinder so we can see what the dudes on Tinder look like? Like, we want to see our competition. So finally, I was still drinking back then after a couple Bud Lights too many. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll download Tinder. And then it was so entertaining, like I couldn't like stop, right? Talk about cheap dopamine hits.
Yep, there it is.
Well, 2 days later, Jeff had the same like beacon signal get on Tinder. 2 days later, we match. I almost swiped left on him actually, but that's another story. I'm like, we'll give the benefit of the doubt. He looks cute, so we'll just see. And the rest is history.
Wow.
So people listening are probably like, oh, you met your husband on Tinder 2 weeks after this prayer. I know that sounds crazy, but like in the moment when I was that sincere and committed, we talked a little bit about like not going all in, but like that doesn't mean you can't be committed, right? I was super committed to not devaluing myself anymore, to not wasting time, to not continue with expiration dating, as I call it, right? And there was Jeff. I think God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I think God has a sense of humor.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Tinder was a great way to connect us.
Yeah.
And we're such a good match. Our families mesh. Yeah.
Wow.
Same with our house. It had been on the market for 4 months. We're like, why isn't this house moving? Inspection was clean, it was great. We made an offer, we couldn't make a deal. 3 weeks go by, I say to my husband, I was like, that's gonna be our house. It's still on the market, that's gonna be our house. He was like, I don't know, it's really gonna have to be meant to be. Next day, our realtor calls, you ready to buy a house today? They were ready to do it. So it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just having full faith that things are gonna work out. Even this house, I was like, if that's not the house, it'll be a better one.
Yeah.
Like, I know it, I'm not attached to the outcome. And I think that that's part of it. It's like the feeling, the trust, and not being attached to the specifics of how it shows up.
Yeah.
Because it's probably coming in different packaging or via a different delivery method.
Yes.
Like if you would have told me that I would have met my husband on Tinder, I thought Tinder was a cesspool. Now it really is. But 11 years ago, I was like, no, I'm not trying to like have random hookups, not about that. You gotta stay open.
Yes. Because it's interesting how desires can quickly become attachments.
Yeah.
But I love that prayer that you said.
Feel free to borrow it, anyone listening.
Say it again, will you?
Yeah. Lord, I pray that when I am ready, not when I think I am, but when you know I am, I pray that you will bring the right man into my life. Help me to not be so stupid that I miss it and to not screw it up. Amen.
Amen. I mean, that's so beautiful to like put the trust in God and not being like, come on, hurry this up.
Yeah.
I heard this thing recently that I thought was really cool too, is instead of thinking as God as like this ATM machine.
Oh, I've never heard that before. Oh my gosh, that is so true. How often do we all do that?
Yeah, you just come to it when you're like, hey, I need cash.
Okay, so not doing that.
Not doing
Continue,
that.
sorry.
And treat it like a dance. Like you're building that relationship. And it's funny because I heard that, it was right before I went swing dancing last week, and I was just thinking about that. What if I brought that energy of like, it's the me show when I come to a dance and I'm controlling. I mean, obviously as a masculine, you're in the lead.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't just be like dragging the dance. It's like a constant like flow back and forth. And it's like when I take that approach to my relationship with God, and like what you said in that prayer of like, when you know that I'm ready.
Yeah. Not when I
Bless
think I
me.
am.
Yeah. And the fact that you voiced that and you spoke that, and I can tell too, like you felt that in your heart.
You know, it's interesting. I remember like where I was even when I said it. It's like a light bulb memory for me, burned in my brain, because the emotion was so palpable and it was so sincere. And I think that that's really key, because a lot of the time we're like very wishy-washy. Well, it'd be nice if, maybe, I'll try. Yeah. No, like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you actually really desire? Do you believe that it's possible? And are you willing to act in accordance so that it can be delivered to you?
Mm-hmm. And I think like it's been interesting. I did a podcast last week, and we started talking about belief. And it was like, it's figuring out what you desire, and then truly having that belief that you are worthy of that desire.
Yeah.
And so we started getting into it, and I was like, well, where does belief really come from? And like, what does it look like, and what does it feel like to have that belief? And then something that just like came over me was, a lot of times you get to a point where you're like, okay, it's important to know what I want, right? And then you get kind of heady about it, and you're like, you bring this like 2-year-old energy. It's like, I want that. I don't have that, so I want that. You have that, so now I want that. But rather, and I love that you said it, it's like, it's not the want, it's the desire. It's the heart-led desire. And I really,
Yeah.
truly believe that comes from just being so in tune with yourself and be grounded and asking God, what is that desire that you're placing in my heart? Because once you get clear on that and it comes like from intuition and God, then you're actually like, you do believe it. It's not like this want and like, am I worthy of it? It's like, no, God placed this in my heart. And now because of that, it's, I want to go impact people. And it's like, I don't question that I'm worthy of going and impacting people because God placed that in my heart.
Yes. You know, the other thing I thought of as you were just talking is like the toddler, like, I want that, you know, like shiny object thing, which we all get that way, right? Sometimes the thing you desire, you actually aren't ready for yet. Like the thing, like think about something that you really want. Like, you know, you heard on the recording that I want to have a business that's doing $1 million in revenue a year. Right now, I couldn't steward that. I still have growing to do to be a 7-figure business owner. If it happened right now, it would be a curse versus a blessing.
Yeah.
Like, how many things do we say we want that if they landed in our lap right now, we would actually be able to take care of them and steward them and hang on to them and grow them, right? And have it be in service to ourselves and others versus it being like this ego thing and be a total waste.
So much.
You know what's wild too? I thought about this as you were talking. The prayer I said, when I met Jeff, I was acting in accordance with the woman who said that prayer. I was not acting like the woman I'd been a couple months earlier, dating all these fuck boys. You said I could swear, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Fuck boys, douchebags, whatever. Like, I was attracting those people because that was the energy I was putting out.
Yeah.
When I met him, and why I met him is because I was putting out a completely different frequency and vibe. And in fact, like, still to this day, like when we reminisce, like, he's like, I had never met a girl like you. You were so like sure of yourself and your worth. And it's like a couple months before that, I was still kind of screwing around, you know what I mean? So you show up as that version and you make a decision, you cut off everything before that, which decide, the root of that word is literally to cut off. And you show up as the new version of you and like everything begins to change.
It's all an energy game.
It is. It is.
Like once you shift your energy, change your energy, change your life. Dispenza talks about that all the time, but it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
true.
It is.
Like energy's crazy.
Yeah, and we're all energy, like every single thing. Like we're all energy and more space than we are stuff.
Yep.
And we're all made of the same stuff too, just in different combinations.
Yeah. Wow. This has been a great conversation.
I love going deep like this.
Yeah.
Love it. Like, let's talk about all of it. Quantum physics, trauma, belief. I'm here for all of it. Thank you for having me.
Tell me just, I want to, if I don't know if it's a quick conversation, but I would love to hear just, you said something earlier about of quantum leaping.
So I don't have like the hard and fast answer on this. This is what I think the secret is to doing a quantum leap. It's fully being in accordance with the version of you that would be able to have and steward whatever it is that you want. And then it's acting as that person, pairing the emotion. How are you going to feel when it happens? Repeat that enough. And one day it's like, oh shit, I just skipped a couple steps. I don't think it's like in sci-fi movies where you like wake up in another dimension. I don't think it's anything like that drastic, but you'll just notice like I'm different than I used to be. I don't react to the guy cutting me off anymore. Now I laugh about him shitting his pants, right? Or, oh, I don't lash out at my kid. I have a moment to pause. Or, oh, I don't have that like spending habit that I used to have anymore. Now I'm like more intentional with how, like you'll notice all these shifts when you reflect back and actually measure where you've come from to where you are now. So intention, alignment, emotion, and action. That's the key.
Like as you're saying that, it's like, how can I stay in that more consistent? Because I heard a metaphor, I thought this was so powerful. It's like, let's say quantum leaping. The metaphor here is memorizing a song, right? And so how do you memorize a song? would you listen to one lyric a day? Or would you just get yourself as immersed in that song and listen to that song as much as humanly possible?
That.
And it's like, the more that you're in that energy,
Yeah.
the more that you're taking that action, the more that you're intentional, it's just like you just start becoming that person before, and that's why you start leaping. Because I would say,
Yeah.
and I think all these are just like coming to me right now, because I have my different perspectives on quantum leaping, but it's just like you're deciding where you're gonna leap to. Are you gonna leap to the next step, or are you gonna leap to 5 steps? Because all you gotta do is just be in the energy of whichever step you wanna go to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And you had said earlier, like, thoughts are creative, right? So when you have the thought of like this desire, where you want to go, you're basically creating like the blueprint for that, like out in the field. So then the more that you visualize and see that version of yourself and act in accordance, you're like, to use the quantum terms, you're like collapsing the probability, like you're making it more and more definite, more and more likely. And I think that's how you make the unseen seen.
Yeah. And that's why we tell our clients to listen to their espresso as much as they possibly can.
I'm so pumped. I actually think that this is brilliant too, because there's no decision fatigue. Like, oh, what meditation am I going to do this morning? Oh, like, what am I going to visualize today? I'll just play the audio. Boom, done, easy.
Yeah. I don't think we told you. Maybe I did not. So you have an iPhone, yeah? So we've got to integrate it with Siri. So you can just tell
That's so
Siri
cool.
all day long, hey Siri, play my Vision Espresso.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it starts playing.
Is it going to start playing your
I do that
earmuff
every day.
Siri?
Because like that's the thing too, is like right when I wake up, I never have my phone in my bed. I don't even have my phone in my bedroom. But
Good for you.
I do have my AirPods. And I throw them on as soon as I wake up, because I know that I'm in more theta brainwaves.
Oh, that's
Throw them
so
on, I'm
smart.
like, hey Siri, play my Vision Espresso, and it just starts playing. And then I'll fall asleep to that. So it's like, when that gate is open to my subconscious, I'm just like
Yeah.
making it rain.
And really, like, this is not, I know you're like, we're at time, so I'll try to make this part brief. I have done mushrooms in ceremony before to, deal with like different trauma and process certain things. And every time, it is always clear to me, time and space, not like hard and fast rules. So like if you want to be, you've kept hearing about the Iowa farmhouse. This is like a century farm that was in my family for probably 150, almost 200 years. It's since been sold, but will be in the family again one day. That is like my happy place, right?
Yeah.
But when I just focus on that farm, I'm there, right? Like, I know that probably sounds a little wild, but that's why I love this Vision Espresso. Like, you can listen to that and actually be transported to the time and place where all this has happened, because it has happened.
Yeah. The moment you spoke it into the answers, it happened.
Yeah. So I don't know when the Paris penthouse is happening, but it's fucking happening.
Yes. Well, this has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
One last question. I think this is a really cool question at the end of the podcast is, what would you love for the listeners to take from this conversation we just had?
I think if there's one thing that you take away, I would say it's believing that all things are possible. I truly believe if you can see something in your mind, you can make it reality. You can 3D print it. And it just starts with baby steps.
Yeah. Just like what you said at the beginning, just like the
Micro decisions, that's it. Watch them compound.
Love it. Oh yeah, thanks for being on. Where can people find this book, and where can they find you?
Yes, okay, you can find me at alessiacitro.com, ALESSIACITRO.com. I have a couple freebies for people there too. So go to, probably the easiest link, go to alessiacitro.com/book. That'll link you to Amazon, it'll link you to the resources, all that fun stuff. And I'm on Instagram too. Trying to get more active on TikTok, and I just can't make it a thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm too afraid of getting addicted over there. So come find me on Instagram. That's a little less of a dopamine hit, I guess. But yeah, thank you for having me. This was so great. I can't wait for you to come on my show too.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and yeah, go check out her podcast as well because I'll be on that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.